So there's a hat pattern that I have made a lot of. I found 5 of them. I kind of feel like there might be more. It is called the Musselburgh, and I like that it's versatile. I like that I can do a lot of different things with it, and I'm going to tell you all about it. So let's go. Hello and welcome back to the Knit Life Oils YouTube channel. So today I'm going to talk about the Musselburgh hat pattern. Now, if you've been around for a while, new Musselburghs show up on my feed quite frequently, and I just really like to make them. So I'm going to start with the first Musselburgh I ever made. So that is this one. This yarn is called Fruit Loops, and it was dyed by a friend of mine in her house, and she doesn't dye anymore, and she sent it to me from very far away. So we cherish it. But I loved that the top was kind of complicated. I use a disappearing loop cast on for all of these. I have videos of those, and I will link it in the caption of this video. But that takes a little bit of time to figure out, or which cast on you want to use for it. And then you do increases. And then you just knit for like 20 inches. And I like this for a couple reasons. So I like that it's just knitting. So I can take it with me wherever I go. I can take it with me whatever I'm doing. I also like that it really gives the yarn a chance to shine and do what it's going to do. This striped so beautifully, and it was one of the things that I really loved about this pattern was that it gave the yarn the chance to do that. Now, if you've seen my other projects, a lot of times I like to use variegated yarns on patterns, and I love doing that too, but I also think that this has a simplicity to it that just is really nice. So if you've never seen a Musselburgh pattern, it is knit in one log tube, and you start at the top with the disappearing loop cast on or whatever inner cast on you like to use, and then you increase to the sizes that you need, and then knit all the way down, and then you decrease and close it, and then it becomes a doubled hat. So you take one end, you go up through the middle, and now it's double layer. This is the Musselburgh hat by Ysolda Teague, and I will put the link to the pattern in the caption of this video also. So the other really fun thing about this pattern is that it kind of always fits a little bit differently, which I find kind of like an adventure. So the yarn and the needle gauge and the gauge that you get change a little bit, and since it's such a plain knit pattern, it kind of varies with that a little bit. So this one, I don't usually like hats on me, but this one is like the perfect amount of stretch, but not too stretchy. It also has a little bit of slouch, but not super slouch. And so I really appreciate that about this version. So I want to show you a tool that I really like for this. So this is the brand new quick gauge ruler from Twice Your Cheap. But the cool thing about this is this pattern you can knit in multiple gauges. And so at the beginning, you measure your gauge to decide which stitch count you're going to use. So I'm going to lay this on top of my hat. Now, it's a little bit easier now because obviously the hat is bigger. But when you do this and you're just casting on, you do it for just these few stitches at the top. But I'm going to scoot in closer here so that you can see. And then we're going to line up the stitches with the boxes. So I'm looking like 6 stitches per inch fits really nicely in these boxes. So that is my gauge, and this makes it just so quick and easy, and I love it. So I will put a link to this in the caption as well. Okay, so that's the first Musselburgh hat I ever made. That was probably 4 years ago, 3 years ago maybe. So then I made a few more. So the second Musselburgh I made was this red hat for a friend, and that friend ended up moving away, but the hat got to go with her, and that was the really cool thing about it. And this hat kind of has a funny story because it was DK weight, and so it was a little bit bigger than I was used to, and it was knit in a different gauge. That also meant that it took longer to dry, and I had to give it to her because she was moving, right? So I blocked it like normal, and it was laying flat to dry. I did everything in my power to try to dry this hat. I put it in my oven at one point. I put it underneath the heat vent in my car. By the time I gave it to her, it was finally pretty much dry. It felt like it took forever. I think it was winter, which things take forever to dry here in the winter. I'm sure they take forever to dry everywhere in the winter, but yes. So that was the second Musselburgh I ever made. The third Musselburgh is the pink one, and that was knit in Twice Your Cheap Everyday Merino, and that is worsted weight, and that takes 2 balls of yarn. But that worked out really nicely too, because it goes really fast because it's a bigger gauge and you just knit right through it. And that one has been passed around in our family. We all like to wear it, and so we wear it. Different people wear it at different times, and it's been a really fun one to kind of play with. So this was the next one that I made. So this has 5 different mini skeins in it. And the really cool thing is that it's basically reversible. So, okay, let me show you. So we're going to insert it back in again so that it kind of folds up and does its thing. And then, so this is one side, and then we can flip it, and it's pretty much a completely different hat, which I think is super cool, and it's all still the same pattern. So this one ended up a little bit longer, and I would say it's probably about the same stretchiness width-wise, but it does have a little bit more slouch than like the first one I made. You can see it there. So I like to wear this one too, especially when I need some color. I just wore this to New York, and it was really fun to take around with me, and I love showing off these colors. So the last Musselburgh I made, this is kind of a stripy color, which I appreciated because that knit up really nicely in this too. It was very similar in the color pattern to the first one I made, which was great because I love that one. So this is Billie from JunkYarn, and it is knit in fingering weight. Also, I got this at the first ever Sacred Sheep, which was in 2023. And then I worked on this Musselburgh kind of for the next few months. I knit most of this at the 2024 Rose City Yarn Crawl. We did a lot of meetups with my friends, and so I knit, I think it was like 9 or 10 inches of this during Yarn Crawl last year, and so that was really fun. This one is tighter than the others, and that's good. It could have been a little bit longer. It definitely doesn't have as much slouch as the others, and so it could be really cool to pull down and kind of roll up a little bit, but I don't always like the way that looks on me, so I kind of tend to go back to the slouchy a little bit, but this one is definitely a little bit shorter than the others, and so it could have used a little bit more length, but it's still pretty, and it has sparkles. See the sparkles? Okay, so now I thought I would show you some other yarns that I'm thinking of Musselburghs, because I almost always have another thought for a Musselburgh coming. So a lot of times when I'm out looking at yarn, or when I see yarn at festivals, I go, oh, that would make a really great Musselburgh all the time. So I have a couple different options at the moment. This I think is going to be really cool as a Musselburgh. And I kind of picked this as soon as I saw it. And I was like, oh, that is going to be a Musselburgh. So this is called, oh, I'm going to butcher this, Anonian from fuzzy peach fibers, and I got this at Flock last year, and I love all of the different like golds and pink flecks along with the purple and the bright pink. So I think that that is going to make a really cool Musselburgh. And I think I would like to kind of keep on the more slouchy side, so I'll probably try and get as much yardage out of this as I can, and knit the first half to 50% of my yarn, and then knit the second half, obviously, and do the decreases. Now, the other one that I think would be really cool as a Musselburgh is this yarn from my friend Allie at Road Trip Sock Yarn. And it has pinks and greens, and there's all kinds of different colors in there. It's called Portland, Oregon, which is where I live, for when she was visiting here last year. And I think that this would knit up really cool and show all of the different colors. I was going to use this one for my mom, but this is kind of too bright for my mom. We have decided that this looks like a mermaid, and I think that would be a perfect Musselburgh for me. So those are my future Musselburgh plans. We will see if those turn into Musselburghs this year, or if I get really distracted by all of the other projects that I found. So anyway, that is a little bit about my Musselburgh adventure and why I like that hat so much. So I hope that you will try knitting your own Musselburgh and show them to me, because I love making them and seeing them, and we will chat soon.